Hi, everyone. It's Suneera Madhani, founder of Stax, Worth AI, and the CEO School. And you're listening to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. I can't wait for you to tune in.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our mom sense and dad sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobbi Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode.
Are you a female business owner or are in the C-suite? I want to run through some stats with you because I am sure they will hit home. Less than 18% of female founders hit 6 figures in revenue. Less than 3% of venture capital goes to women and less than 1% to minorities. Less than 2% of female founders break 1 million in revenue. Male CEOs are 3.5 times more likely to hit this goal. There's a unicorn founder who aims to change these stats for future generations. Her glass ceiling is her daughter's ground floor. Suneera Madhani calls herself an unlikely CEO at age 26 without money or an MBA or corporate leadership experience. And after being laughed out of her boss's office, she entered and won numerous pitch competitions and began building Stax Payments, her $1 billion company inside her parents' Florida home. Now, as the host and creator of the CEO School and founder of Worth AI, Suneera is actively investing in her community and is on to her next venture. Earlier this year, Suneera shared the stage with Jessica Alba at Forbes 3050 International Women's Conference in Abu Dhabi. She's also been recognized by Inc.'s 2022 Top Female Founders 100, Inc. 5000, and Entrepreneurs 100 Women of Influence in 2022. Okay, I am with Suneera Madhani, and we have become fast friends. I can't wait for the gems she's going to drop on That's Total Mom Sense today. Suneera, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, Kanika, I'm so excited to be here. I've been on a million business podcasts, but when business and family comes together, this is where my heart sings because I am a girl mom of 2, and I cannot wait to talk to your incredible audience about all the things business and life.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. And there's this quote about legacy. It's where you plant seeds in a garden that you'll never see grow. But I think there's something so poetic about that. And you are definitely paying it forward for your daughters and all those in your community. So this is going to be amazing. I want to just give a shout out to Arlen Hamilton. You're going to be speaking at the Your First Million Summit. Are you super excited?
I am super excited. I'll be there in LA in just a few days. We're actually just finishing all the planning. There's so many fun events happening. Arlen is such an incredible powerhouse and a dear friend. And we've kind of over the last several years, there's an amazing group of women in business that just supports women in business. We all have our own communities and incredible just women that we support. But up on the top, there's also all these incredible women coming together. And I feel so privileged to be part of just this group of women that we're just all there supporting each other and our communities in business as well. So she's a gem, and I get to see all of my other friends that are going to be there. And so it's going to be a great time.
Oh, I love it. 100%. Having a tribe is a vibe. You need it. Okay, so let's start with your life story because there's so many learnings and life lessons along the way, and I want you to really enlighten the audience with that. So you have immigrant parents, and I do too. And I feel like growing up in a family of immigrants, it's even more impactful than B school. You just learn so much, and you're scrappy, and yes. So you are a testament to this. Tell us about your parents and when they moved from Karachi to the US.
Oh, I love that you're asking me about this. I love my parents so much. My family immigrated to this country in the 80s, and my parents actually met in Chicago. So they met in Chicago, they got married in Chicago, and I was born in Chicago. So they had a beautiful love story at a very young age. And, as immigrants, entrepreneurship is one of the only ways to success because they came to America at such a young age to provide for their families. So my father was sending home money back to his family. My mom was the eldest daughter as well that was like supporting the rest of her family. And so they kind of had similar journeys in that way. And I think most immigrant kids can relate to this exact story. It's almost the same story of all of our parents coming to America. But the pursuit of the American dream for them was honestly to have their family and to have opportunity. Like that is the true American dream for them. It wasn't about the exact dollars in the bank or the white picket fence. It was really about, having your family have opportunity. And that came through with education because that was something that they were not able to achieve because they were working at such a young age. So just like every good immigrant, like family, like my brother and I, like school was like the most important thing. My parents had a slew of businesses. They were serial entrepreneurs. They started with one small convenience store, and then it was franchises and restaurants and all the different things. And my brother and I really got to be, exactly what you said. It was business school, but in the house. I definitely saw the stressors of entrepreneurship. And so that was something that from a very young age, I was like, I do not want to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to go to medical school I ended up wanting to be a dentist. I changed my path so many times and I ended up graduating. I was the first person in my family to graduate college, but I got a degree actually back, guess what? In business, in finance, and in marketing. But the goal was not to do anything for myself, was to go work for Wall Street and to go, into big corporate America. And I did that for the first 5 years of my career. But once you kind of have that, you're around, the best part about being around a family like that is as entrepreneurs or being around entrepreneurs, you're constantly solving problems. There's got to be a better way. What can we do to find a solution? So there's always this solution-driven mentality. And in corporate America, I feel like those were the things that were part of my successes and how I quickly was able to grow. But it was also parts of my deterrence of being that employee that was always trying to challenge all the things that were there. And the last organization I worked for, what happened to be a financial services organization and credit card processing. And that is how I learned about the industry that I ended up solving a really big problem for. And I constantly was just challenging leadership and management to think better and to drive technology, and all the market was moving in a different direction and no one really wanted to listen. That was kind of my corporate career path. And I ended up having this idea to launch a subscription-based credit card processing system. Subscription economy was very nascent at that time, and technology was not really prevalent in the small business market. And long story short, I pitched the idea to my male bosses. They hated it. And next thing I know, I'm on a flight home. I share the idea with my family at dinner table because we obviously were always together. My parents were like, why don't you just go start the company, Suneera? Why don't you just go do it? And I'm like, me, Dad, where do I go find Mr. Visa? And the rest is history. Started a company that year in 2014 at the age of 26 with no money in my bank account. And in 2021, exited at north of $1 billion.
Wow. Yes. And we've seen your success. It's incredible. And I love that it was your family who said, you've got this. You can do this. Don't overthink it. You changed schools. You were in 10 schools in 12 years. So you got really comfortable with being uncomfortable. How did you learn to test that muscle?
I look back at that and I wouldn't change anything. I mean, that was probably the reason I was so close to my family and so close to my brother, especially. So my brother and I are just 2 years apart. And so we always had this, we're siblings, we're going to always be fighting and whatever, but we always had each other's back in a way that I don't think anybody got, because we would move schools so much. We kind of only ever had each other. And so our friendship was just beyond it just being siblings. He was truly my best friend, even growing up, whether we liked it or not. That's we were stuck, right? I wouldn't change our how crazy and hectic life was, as I learned so much from all of our experiences. it definitely gave me a tough muscle to say, one, I can make friends in a room with any single person. Like that is definitely a trait that I have. I can immediately, I think somebody recently said that I'm so good at disarming people. And I didn't understand what that meant, but like I can talk to whether it's a 3-year-old or it's a 75-year-old or it's the CEO of a large like financial institution or it's an amazing woman in business. I do feel like I've learned the social skill set to be able to really connect with people. And honestly, it was because I didn't have a choice, right? So if I like moved schools, if I wasn't going to connect with people, I'd be the outsider again. And so I learned to be funny and be charming and to listen and to like really adapt myself. And some of these traits on the opposite have had such like, I look at myself and I'm like, oh my God, like I am such a people pleaser, right? Like as a woman, like I'm there's so many tendencies as well that probably don't play into my benefit, but that's like, now we're not going to go down like the psychological like episode of Suneera Madhani here. I think your background and your history really does shape who you are, regardless, like how you grow up, where you grow up, like, and the people that you're surrounded with. It really does shape your future. And so good and bad, that was kind of like how we did it. And today I actually still get to work with my brother. People ask us all the time. So he's the co-founder of my company. So our first company we built together. So in 2014, he left his corporate job and came and moved back home as well, where I live in Orlando. My mom literally lives across the street from me. Like when I tell you I could throw a rock at her house, like literally my mom's here, my like down the road. We work together. My father actually, unfortunately, passed away in 2020 during COVID of a heart attack at a very young age. We miss him every day, but we are such like a tight-knit family. I don't care how much success I ever achieve and all the things, like what makes your life worthwhile is having people around you that you can enjoy it with and celebrate with. And just family is the most important thing. And my family goes beyond just that. Our core group, it's my extended family as well and friends who've become family. And I don't know if it's like an immigrant thing, but like our table's always open and it's the way that our hearts work. And I extend that to our community for all the women that I get to work with every day too.
Going back to your brother, I love that you are that close-knit that you started the company with him. And I think it's so sweet how rather than dividing it 50-50, you're like, we're going to do 52-48 because I'm 2 years older.
That's a true story. So when I started the company, Sal came on board just shortly thereafter. And it was about 6 months after. So it wasn't like immediately after. We started to get some traction. And people were like, how did you split equity with your co-founder? And I'm like, well, my co-founder is my brother. So it wasn't going to be like, it was going to be 50-50. So, and that was really intentional. And then because I was 2 years older, I took 2% more. That was like literally a brother-sister thing. And it's funny, actually, this company, we just started our second company. And this time around, he has 2% more of this one. I love the fact that we were always able to make decisions as partners, especially as business partners. And you never want, family, money, business. It doesn't always work out. And as I mentioned, it's like the most important pillar in my life. I never wanted business or financials to ever change that for us. And as much as people think it doesn't, money is complex, business is complex. And it's like one of the biggest fears that I have is when we're working with family, I never want it to go wrong. And I worry about that even for like my kids and our kids. And I hope that we can, the legacy continues with them. But you do hear of like the worst horror stories with family, especially when there's business involved, especially if there's, money involved and is, all the things. And so that was honestly the reason. It wasn't, people are like, it's just because I wanted to have a partner that we can make decisions together. And it wasn't like I'm making a decision because I'm X percentage more or not. And so I really do believe it's really helped us in our decision-making as co-founders. And we've worked really hard on leaving business at work and then having family time as family time. I work with my husband in different capacities. We do a lot of business together. We do all of our investments together. He is an entrepreneur as well. But my day-to-day, I don't have to, I feel like Faisal and I would drive each other nuts if I had to work with him on a day-to-day. And my brother, he drives me nuts too, but it's kind of like you can fight and you can quickly make up because it's like your sibling and you're used to doing it. So that's kind of our dynamic.
What were some of the things that you wish you knew? Because we are against the odds here. There's only 2% of female founders who hit the 1 million mark. And I know that was an impetus for you to get into this industry in the first place. I feel like everyone talks about like, this happened and that happened and this win, but like, what were you like, oh my God, if I could go back in time, I would really laser focus on XYZ?
If I were to go back and tell myself something, it's just to have more confidence in myself. Like the first 7 years of my journey, I felt like I was constantly trying to prove my worth to everyone and trying to get attention. And then also at the same time, it wasn't my fault because nobody was giving me attention, right? Like here I am, a woman of color, trying to raise venture capital out of Orlando, Florida, you're not going to get attention. Like I'm not in a city where there's venture capitalists. I'm building a fintech. There's no other fintechs that were here or even tech. It was in a tech hub, all of the things. And so you're trying to fight for attention. And I think this goes for most women overall. And so I felt like I was always trying to fit into the boys club. And in financial services, it is definitely a boys club. In tech, it's definitely a boys club. But honestly, it's like that in every industry. The more I speak to women in business, it's like regardless of the industry, there is such a boys club because, I mean, think about it. Only for like the last 50 years, we've even been in the workforce, right? And so it's new. It's new for them. It's new for us. But what's different is that we've been trying to conform into the boys club. And that was also part of my story and my journey for like the first 7 years of me scaling the company. And it was really successful, but I feel like I really lost myself. I lost Suneera through that process where I wasn't really showing up the way I really wanted to show up. And I was, even from the way that I was dressing to, I mean, this show is called Mom Sense. Like I was pregnant raising twice. And I literally hid my pregnancy for as long as I possibly could to like avoid the conversation about how I would be, as a mother or as a CEO. And at the same time, my other co-founder also pregnant at the same time, or his wife was pregnant at the same time, but like no one's going to ask him any questions about his ability to be a dad and to be CTO of a $1 billion company, right? So I can't change what kind of were those things, but I wish I could give myself a little bit more confidence to say, Suneera, like you have it, you have what it takes to show up, and whatever they say, whatever the naysayers say, like don't let those doubts come into your brain and show up as yourself. And I don't think that shift happened for me until about in 2020, I would say, where I really felt like I leaned into myself, leaned into my gut. And this was after Anna was born, my second baby was born. And I would literally just like bring the kids to the office. Like pandemic was such a change for so much of the workforce overall. But I do feel like it didn't need for that to happen. But I feel like when I finally stepped into being myself, wearing loud and pink, showing up like in the way that I wanted to lead, the decisions that I wanted to make for the company, not constantly second guessing myself, I feel like that's honestly when the trajectory really took off and where we scaled from that 20 million in revenue to 100 million in revenue. And I do believe that it was all the things, but it was honestly the confidence that I needed in myself and in my decision making. But that's the only thing I would tell myself. And so if I could talk to any entrepreneur in the room today or any woman in the room today, like just have a little bit more faith in yourself and stop, showing up as everybody wants you to show up. Show up as however it is that you need to show up, and really trust your instinct and your gut first over everyone else's bullshit and advice. Like trust your own gut first.
Yes, I love that. And that's really what Mom Sense is about. I want to get into your motherhood journey, but I know on an interview you shared how you have your mind and your heart and your gut. And sometimes you have to listen to one over the other. And I love that you've always followed your instincts. And in one scenario, when you had a first offer for acquisition, you were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And any founder would feel that way. And you were like, you know what? This is undervalued. No. And I'm so glad you stood up for that. You trusted your gut. You told your team. So yeah, are there any other scenarios business-wise that you were like, I just knew like the path we needed to tread here?
We got an acquisition offer. It was $17 million on the table. And we had just brought in our initial funding for the business. And our investors got really excited about this valuation. But I was like, we have so much more room to grow and to go. And I could have been convinced on the dollars, but I wasn't convinced on the partners on the other side. I could have been convinced on the dollars because that's the doubting myself of like, okay, maybe this is a great offer. But what I knew for sure that the partners on the other side were not the right partners. That's when I really stood my ground and I said, nope, we're not going to take this offer The board was obviously very upset. We moved on. And then quickly thereafter, like the valuation went from 17 million to 50 million. We got other offers along the way. And we ended up exiting those investors out at 18 times their dollar at 200 plus million. I can name you from the smallest examples of hiring, right? When you know it's not, like it's not, but you're constantly leaning in. Firing, right? Same thing as women. We are so empathetic. We're like the last to fire somebody. When even though it's like killing us, killing our team, all the things, and we're like, oh my God, I will take on all the pain because I just don't want to. And it's not about upsetting somebody. It's really about we're trying to find the good in everything, right? So we're always giving people the benefit. And so we're like, okay, one more shot, one more try, but it's affecting your business and just leaning in. And I'm not saying we have to be so quick in that way, but this is where that 3 brain thing that I was sharing, it's facts, like plus your heart, plus your gut. And your gut as a woman is like the strongest instinct as it's humans. But I think we have that extra special touch here. So lean into that.
Hi, this is Kanika Chadda Gupta, television journalist, founder, and podcast host of That's Total Mom Sense.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claire Goss, the Senior Manager in the Education Department at Bright Horizons, and this is
Play Matters with Bright Horizons. On this weekly segment, we're double-clicking on the importance of play and how it's not just a pastime, it's crucial to learning for young children.
I'm here to clear up your misconceptions about play and learning. We're going to talk about the benefits of play, the different types of play, how to encourage play even when your child says, I'm bored.
So grab a notebook, the Notes app on your phone, or take some mental notes on today's takeaways and share them with your friends. Listen in because play matters. Today's segment is the power of play. Play is the universal language for children, but does it translate to learning?
Oh yeah, big time. Play really is learning for kids. All children, especially young children, are born scientists and investigators. They are ready to explore everything. And that won't, again, parents of toddlers, this won't surprise you to hear that. They are driven to learn and explore, right? And they do that through play. There's a really famous Fred Rogers quote that you may have heard. I'm going to read it so I don't goof it up. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. So that quote, we bounce that around at Bright Horizons a lot just to remind ourselves how important play really is for learning in early childhood. And in the last century, child development theorists and researchers, people like Piaget, Montessori, Elkind, have shown us over and over again in their research that play is essential to learning and child development.
Wow. And you know what? Play comes so naturally to kids. They like to tinker with things and see how pieces fit together and take things apart. And they just make themselves laugh. Is this how they actually learn and retain information? Because they're definitely learning cause and effect. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, any parent of young children will tell you cause and effect is a big thing during play. So the notion that we learn best when we're naturally interested in something is true for all people, adults too, right? You're more likely to learn something when you've decided to pursue it yourself. This is true for kids too. So how do you know what your child is interested in learning right now? Again, just giving them that time to play and explore their environment. So giving them the time, the space, and the opportunity to play, which is really hard for busy families sometimes. That increases enthusiasm for learning and engagement learning when they just have that time to play. So what does that look like? It looks like not making them overschedule, because when that happens, children start disengaging in play. So at Bright Horizons, we really prioritize that. We know that play is the primary and best vehicle for early learning and development.
Back in the day when we were growing up, we were just sent outside to play. And, is that something that we can take a cue from? And it's just like, get out, use your imagination, figure it out.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to have an opportunity to talk more about this soon, but the idea that your child needs to be scheduled every 30 or 60-minute chunk of the day is a very new construct. Like you just said, we didn't used to schedule children's free time in this way. If you've got a long, lazy Sunday afternoon in front of you, that's a gift to your child, really. Like, let them have the opportunity to play, mess around with things at home. You can do some guided play, you can do some free play. The most important thing is just giving them the opportunity, because when you can see, when you let them choose their play experiences and let them take the lead, you can see what they're naturally drawn to working on right now, right? Maybe they're really interested in working on their fine motor skills. So they're drawn to the Play-Doh, or they want to string beads, right? So that's a clue to you. Okay, this is something my kid's interested in working on right now. That's learning. That's happening right in front of you.
And it's now time for Press Play. Claire, what is one takeaway that you can share on the power of play?
Yeah, I think from today's conversation, I can quote our chief academic officer, Rachel Robertson. She says all the time that play is a child's learning laboratory. And I love that, because when you think about your own experiences in a laboratory, maybe when you were a student yourself, it is fun and messy and exciting. And that's how children feel every single day when they're allowed to play. It's the best opportunity that they have for experimentation, thinking, and learning.
Thank you so much for your wisdom. We're looking forward to our next segment on Play Matters with Bright Horizons, which focuses on how play is the foundation for success. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this week's Play Matters with Bright Horizons segment. To find a center near you, get access to free parenting resources from experts, and tune in to one of my favorite shows, the Bright Horizons parenting podcast, Teach, Play, Love, visit brighthorizons.com. And now I want to get into motherhood. And I know you live by this. Like, one such quote is, "No other success can compensate for failure in the home." And that was said by James Edward McCullough. I truly feel this, because as much as there's glory on the outside world, like, your kids will humble you. And you realize that, like, the importance that you bring to their lives is insurmountable. So tell us how you are the co-founder and co-CEO of your household, and how you simulate that in your home.
Oh, I love this. I mean, this is so true. And I think I was very privileged to grow up in a family of a lot of love. I want to give that to my children first and foremost, because I've seen the positive effects it's had on me in my life. Definitely, there's no greater job than being their mom. It's my number one priority, mom and a wife too. Like, I believe what you said in that quote 100% wholeheartedly. Like, your family is the most important. Why are you doing all of it, right? We talked about that legacy. We talked about all the things. No matter what success I have in the world, truly, if things are falling apart at home, I'm never going to have happiness. Happiness, it doesn't take a lot. Happiness is in the home. And so our home is our sanctuary. And I believe in, like, making sure, like, from a time perspective, having quality time with a family, not just, I see a lot of busy parents, and we can juggle all the things, but it is important to really have meaningful connection with your family members. And so I really do try to prioritize meaningful connection. And I might not be the PTA mom, and I might not be the mom that knows everything that's happening at school and all the things, but I know a lot. I'm like, still, there's so much attention to detail because it's just mom's brain. But I'm there every single day for my kids. Meal times are important for me. My quality time with them in the evening is important to me. I drop my kids to school every morning, right? And so we have our time together. And when I'm traveling, because I have to travel a lot for work, guess what? I take them as much as I can. And I have a 2-night rule where I'm not away from the house for more than 2 nights. If I have to break that rule, then everybody has to come, or my kids have to go with me. You know, we have $1,000 tasks and $10 tasks. Like, we need to be outsourcing as many $10 tasks as we can, because being with my kids is a $1,000 task, not a $10 task. And so I'm constantly finding ways to remove as much as I can noise off of my calendar and spending time with my family and integrating them into my work life, because I don't believe there's no such thing as work-life balance. It truly is work-life integration, especially if you're ambitious, right? And you have, like, if I was complacent, and there's nothing wrong with being like, okay, we're here and this is where we're going to be at, and we can figure out our lives within that. And you can create an amazing work-life balance if you were stable and exactly where you want it to be. But I'm not bred this way. Most of us are not bred this way. I have an insatiated amount of ambition that is still up ahead. I've already, successfully exited my first company, but I want to do it again, and I want to do it bigger and better. And I want to leave a legacy that can touch every single business out there. So that requires work, and it doesn't take away from my motherhood, right? And I think society, it doesn't show us examples of where being a successful and ambitious and wanting to do all the things, like we're told, oh, you can't do it all, right? Like you can't do it all. You have to choose. I don't believe that. I don't want to choose. I deserve to have it all. And for me, what all looks like is my career and my family. Everything else is a no, right? And so it's really about choosing the things that you're putting on your plate, and everything else can come off because that's it. That's my only priority is my family and my businesses. Like those are the things. It doesn't mean that the mom stress isn't there. It doesn't mean that that second shift is not there. It doesn't mean that there's that mom guilt that doesn't leave. Every time I get on an airplane, I cry. I miss my family. Like I'm dying to get home. I'm never enjoying, like everyone wants to travel for work and they're like, you get to do all these amazing things. I truly am trying to shift that mentality to try to start enjoying the places that I have to be, because I have that mom guilt still. That's not going to go away, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't do the things together. So, and yes, I have mom guilt, but I can also when I'm home, I can be fully present with my kids and I can spend the time with them and say no to other people on the weekends because my weekends are fully dedicated to my family. But don't forget, you also deserve some space as well. And you belong in the family too. I was the last person to eat over the last 10 years. And it clicked for me a year and a half ago where I started my health wasn't doing well. At such a young age, I had crazy amounts of stress as a CEO. And then you add all of the things, and I was at the heaviest that I was. My labs were at the worst that they'd ever been. My cortisol, all the things. Like if you looked at my cholesterol, everything, and it wasn't like I was exercising. I had a personal trainer. I was doing all the things, and it was stress. It was all of the things, and I was not prioritizing like learning about my body in the right ways and taking care of myself first. And so that shift has really taken place for me where I have literally started to like, wait, I belong in the family too. And if mom isn't healthy, and if mom isn't stable, and if mom isn't taking care of herself, then truly I can't be at my best as well with my kids. And everyone has given me this advice, but it never clicked for me. And so if you're listening out there and like, you know that this is true, like don't end up where I was at that point and then having to revert backwards. But now made my health a priority, made spending time for myself as a priority as well. Like I'm also allowed, just because I have been working and just because the kids are there, I'm also allowed to go relax and to have quiet time for myself to like unwind. I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to work out and kill myself. I can do it post I drop off my kids, and then I can get to work at 9:30 instead of 8:30. And if I can't do that for work, then I can get to it at 5 o'clock and not feel guilty that I took 45 minutes out of my day after work and not rush home to be with the kids. So that has been a huge mental shift for me that I'm still working on. But I am proud to say that I'm the happiest I've been. My kids are the happiest that they have been. And my health is at its prime and I feel my absolute best.
Oh my gosh. No, and we feel that. I just want to sidebar to the audience. I told you about the gems. I feel like so many sound bites can come out of this one episode. It's amazing. You're phenomenal. I wanted to talk about how the way that you lead your life, you said this once, your glass ceiling is your daughter's ground floor. And I think that's so profound. And I feel our kids teach us so much. So tell us a little something that your girls have taught you.
Even like things that we believe as adults like are not perfect or we get so caught off guard if things don't go according to plan. But kids are so just like, they're so easy. They're so go with the flow. And if the plan changes, they're not upset about the plan. They're like excited about whatever this new plan is. Like they don't take change or a setback as a setback. Their perception of it is like, oh, cool, now we get to do this, or oh, this is what happens, and they're going to pivot. And their perception and their positivity on things. Whereas as an adult, we're constantly in this mode of like problem solving. And so if something doesn't go according to plan, our mentality isn't like, oh, look how this exciting new opportunity is there. We view it from a lens of, oh my God, we have to go fix the thing. And kids aren't worried about fixing it. They're just worried about having fun and enjoying the moment. And so that is like, I would say, parts of like what I get to watch. And I think most parents get to see. They're happy. Like they're super, super happy. And on like literally last week, we're at the New York Stock Exchange. I get there, I was keynoting, and I was also recording for our podcast, CEO School. So I was there. I had a live sessions going on. And when we got there, there was a little mix up, not a little, a big mix up in scheduling. So it was big mix up in scheduling. I get there and we were supposed to do a family tour of the New York Stock Exchange, which I literally, this moment for me is one of like the moments I've been looking forward to. Like I am a financial, like I was a finance major. I operate 2 fintechs. Like I have a way of explaining things to my girls, like, you know, of like why this is meaningful. I didn't want them to just get like the tour of it. Like I wanted to be the one to give them the tour. So everyone is aware that this tour is really important to me. That's why my girls are here with us. But when I got in, schedules were like, I had to get on to it was a live podcast that needed to get done. And I sat down for the show. And then I thought that during the thing, my team would like, after this one, I would get to go. But what had happened was there was some miscommunication and the team came and pulled my family for the tour. So they went off on the tour without me. And I was so sad inside. Like when I tell you, like my mom heart died and like my little heart died. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Again, adult brain. And I'm like, yeah, and you can feel for me. You can empathize with why I was upset or why I would feel upset. But guess what? When my kids came back, they were like, oh my God, it was so cool. Mom, we can't wait for you to see it. Like, this is so awesome. And like, it didn't take away from their experience. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. And then guess what? I got to do the tours later. I didn't get to go with my kids, but it was still an amazing experience for me. And I was ruining that moment because I was so fixated on the negativity of like, oh, I didn't get to do it this way versus being like, I'm so glad that my girls got to do it. And I'm so glad that I'm getting to do it here shortly. And I'm still going to have my moment. And guess what? We're going to go ring the bell together. And then my kids will get to be there.
I wanted to ask you what's lighting you up. You have Worth AI, the CEO school, so much, growth happening. So tell us about it.
Oh my goodness. I am super excited about Worth, which is our newest fintech. We are building the business credit score. So this, as much like it's so crazy that it doesn't exist. As a consumer, we have a personal credit score. And when we want to go buy a car or any products, like our financial health is determined on our credit score. As a business, there is no standardization of credit worth right now from the financial ecosystem. So this is a challenge because there's no standardization. So women, people of color, like we're all getting left out of the financial systems. It's very manual. It's a lot of human biases on the other side for credit, for lending, opening up a business banking account, all the things. And also everything is still tied to our personal credit versus our business credit. And so we're creating the business credit score. It's called the Worth Score. We've created an incredible risk management and underwriting platform for financial institutions. We've partnered with the world's greatest data companies like Equifax and all of the greatest. And we're literally building the business credit score to standardize the business credit score. And so this is a huge, huge problem, huge opportunity. And we're the best team to go solve it. And people are like, why would you go build another company? I was, as an institution on the other side, I wish something like this existed. So we onboarded 100,000 small businesses. It was super manual. It was so hard to underwrite them. And at the end of the day, Sally, Joe, Susie, were the ones that were stamping the applications to give a credit worth for a person, good and bad, right? So there is that human biasness at the other side, of like, oh, well, this business is too new, or this is what this person's race or color is, without even consciously knowing it. And even good bias. Oh, he went to University of Florida. Let's give him more credit because we're from the same alma mater, right? And so we want to avoid human decision making. We've got all of the data to go do it. And we're really excited to bring this to financial institutions, but also really giving this tool and the transparency to every single business out there to understand how they can improve upon their business financial profile and their health. So that is Worth. You can check that out at worthai.com. Worthscore.com is going to be available shortly. Our SMB product, our enterprise product is launched. So that's what I've been, but our small business product is going to be out. So join our waitlist if you're a business owner. And yeah, CEO school, this is my impact work, right? So as all the success that I have, I found that being a woman in business, it's just very lonely. And it is important that we come together. I was telling you in the beginning about our communities, like with Arlen and with Rachel and with all the most amazing women at the top getting together. I want to be able to support women in business through their journey. Less than 2% of female founders ever break that million in revenue. And it should be 100%. We solve problems. We solve major problems. And because we're like, no one's solving this thing, so I guess I have to do it because we're the last to take a bet on ourselves, right? So we're not trying to do it. When we decide we're going to do it, we're solving big problems, and it's important that our businesses are successful. So my impact work, which is really important to me, is done through CEO School. It's an amazing community of entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. We have an amazing podcast, so check that out. I'm sure Kanika will be linking all the things. And then you can follow me on social. I'm like very transparent about mom life, work life, all the things. And if I could be of help to anyone, you have a seat at my table.
It's so symbolic that it's Ramzan right now. It's such a beautiful time of year. Do you have any parting words for our audience that you live by?
Yes, and Ramzan Mubarak to all of you celebrating. It is a very special time. It's also a very hard time and a difficult time as well. But at the end of the day, it's really about reflection. That's what this month is really about. It's about reflection. It's about removing toxicity. It's about resetting. It's about truly thinking about what are the things that are the most important in your life. And it's about simplification, right? And that truly, like, what is the most important thing is like our families, right? Like, this is the most important thing. These are your why. Your children are your why. And you can do it all. You can do it both. You can have the career. You can be an incredible mother and an incredible wife, and also whatever your passion is, right? If it's not even in your business, if it's that hobby, if it's the podcast, if it's being a creator, if it's the fashion line, you also deserve that level of creativity. As women, we are multi-passionate, and that is okay. Just my parting words are to be your most authentic self and to do all the things that bring your heart joy.
Thank you, Suneera. Thank you so much. This was such a treat.
Hi, everyone. It's Suneera Madhani, and my experience on That Total Mom Sense was so fun. I enjoyed learning so much about her journey, and she's just such a great interviewer. It felt like we were having a coffee chat with friends, and I'm super excited to stay connected.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got some great takeaways from our conversation. Join my community by logging on to thatstotalmomsense.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast, wherever you listen, and be sure to rate and review. On socials, my handle is at Kanika Chadda Gupta on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and X. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My episode videos are on YouTube and YouTube podcasts with highlights on YouTube Shorts. Write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. My team and I read all your pitches and feedback and are so glad to be in touch. Remember, always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. See you soon.